This week, we're talking to Larry Long Jr., the CEO, that's Chief Energy Officer of Larry Long Jr. Enterprises.
If I had set attainable and realistic goals, I would never be an author. If I had set attainable and realistic goals, I would never be a professional speaker. I encourage people to dream. Dream big. No, dream bigger. Set unattainable, unrealistic goals. If you shoot for the moon and you miss, you're still amongst the stars.
Who is teaching us today all about energy, personal branding on LinkedIn, and how to stay motivated in your speaking, keynote speaking, facilitating business.
Now, I work with sales professionals across the globe. And what I found is that the most successful sales professionals, they control that narrative. They control that voice that they're telling themselves. Because we know that storytelling is really story selling.
He's a keynote speaker out here and an author. He wrote the book, Jolt, Get Zapped into Intentionality, Rediscover and Believe in Your Inner Greatness.
I get the opportunity each and every week to speak and serve sales professionals just like yourself. I get to share a message and encouragement for them to take action to take their game to that next level.
Today, we dive a lot into how he built his personal brand as a speaker, but also what he teaches in terms of building his LinkedIn presence. He's got over 44,000 followers on LinkedIn, and what it took to get out there, do that, build a speaking career, write a book, all that and more. I hope you guys enjoy their conversation today. Check it out. All right, let's get started. I'm excited to bring you our guest today, Larry Long Jr. First off, Larry, thank you for being here today. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if my microphone was on. Brandon, thank you so much for having me on Brands, on Brands, on Brands, Brandon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Larry with his signature fake out microphone movement here, trying to pretend he's on mute. Is that going to get retired someday, or is this part of the Larry Long brand at this point?
Man, people always ask, where are the microphones? So I've got to give the people what they want. I've got a few backup back there just in case.
I love it, man. It's like once things are part of you, your brand, it's just like, why get rid of it? It's like nostalgic. Like it's some of your greatest hits. They expect it. I've kind of been watching your speaking business for a while, and I'm excited to talk about that, how that speaking business has been developing. You're a leader in our community, things that you've seen, things that you've learned from, but you're also an expert in the sales space. You speak on that. You've done some great things in your own personal branding. You've done amazing things on LinkedIn. So we're going to cover a lot of that today, but I'd love to get started, get grounded kind of in this idea of energy. Because it's funny is not only do you have this book called Jolt, but really, I'd say less about what you teach, more about who you are. You seem to embody this idea of energy. You call yourself the Chief Energy Officer. Why is that so important to you? Where does that come from?
Oh, man, great question. Let me rewind back to when I was 7 years old in Grand Island, Nebraska. And this is a story relayed by my parents, but there were 7 twisters that touched down and they had the newspaper clippings absolutely demolished the town. But we lived in apartments and you have to go down in the basement. And my mom said, Larry, you're jumping on people. Everyone's fearful of their life. Mother Nature doesn't play around. But I'm so excited just to be around people. I'm jumping on people. They're like, get this little nappy-headed boy off of me. We're about to die. I've just been wired that way. I run high energy. And what I found is that for me, it's not a choice, but it is a choice. I could be grumpy and frumpy and say, oh, woe is me. And I mean, life be lifing for me. But what I found is that bringing and controlling your energy and bringing high energy, it just leads to success. And we all have the opportunity to do it, but it's a choice. So yes, I'm the self-proclaimed CEO, Chief Energy Officer. Actually, someone gave that to me. They said, Larry, you are the Chief Energy Officer. I said, I'll take that and I'll borrow it. I just love it. And it's contagious. It's kind of like COVID-19. Energy is contagious. When you bring high energy, when you step in the room or even if you step in the Zoom, you pass it along to other people and you infect them in a positive way for them to infect other people. So I pinch myself every day. Not too hard because I don't want to wake myself, but I'm living a dream, Brandon.
I love it. I love that dream. And you're out there teaching people how to do this for themselves, how to bring that into sales organizations. I want to share some of that. You say it's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you. So I'm stealing your good quote here. Why does that matter? Why is it who knows you? Why does that matter?
Yeah. Once again, I'll tell you another story. I love the Shark Tank. Robert Herjavec, Damon John, Mark, Lori, Barbara. I know all of them. The likelihood of me partnering and doing work with them is slim to none. And Slim has left the building because I know them and they have no idea who Larry Long Jr. is yet. Yet they will. So when you look at relationships, people like to work with, partner with, be friends with people that they know, like, trust, and believe in. We all have an opportunity, and that's brand right there, your brand. Do people know you? Do they like you? Do they trust you? Do they believe in you? So it's one of those things where you can know all the people in the world, but if they don't know you, uh-oh, Houston, we got a problem. It's going to be tough to generate business. It's going to be tough to generate strong, powerful relationships that are really at its core built on trust. Can I trust you to do what you said you're going to do? Can I trust you to keep my best interests in mind? When it comes to sales, people are skeptical because they're like, "Oh, you're not a sales professional. You're a scam artist. You're trying to sell me." I'll give you one quick story. My wife was pregnant. We were looking for new cars. And essentially, we were looking at minivans and Toyota Venza. Went to a car dealership, and they tried to get us in a sports car. It's like, have you heard anything that I just said? I need space for the pack and play and for my golf clubs. And you want to get me in a two-door, like that had commission breath written all over it. You didn't listen to a word that I said. You're not trying to serve me. You're trying to scam me so you can make those commissions. So important.
How do you get people started? What are some kind of tips for someone to do more of that?
Yeah, they call me LinkedIn Larry for a reason. I encourage folks to leverage the power of that platform for relationships. And there's an opportunity to put out your own thought leadership. There's an even greater opportunity to engage with the community or communities. So I encourage your listeners and your viewers to think about what communities are you a part of and how can you get in more involved? Can you contribute and support others in the community? I encourage you to leverage LinkedIn to join the conversation. There's conversations that are going on. You can add your point of view. You can support and lift up others. You can engage. I call it B2B, not business to business, not brands to brands, but belly to belly. Brandon, you and I remember we met at the hotel, met in the lobby, and we had that conversation where I got to know you, you got to know me, and that's where that friendship and relationship has come from. We all have that opportunity on LinkedIn globally. I mean, I've got great friends in Germany, in New Zealand, in Australia. Say what?
You're right now just over 44,000 followers on LinkedIn. So definitely give Larry a shout. And you might not even know this. You're over 270 episodes right now on your midday motivational minute. If you just go to his feed, you're going to see hundreds of these things because he's at 270 plus at this point. You started a newsletter in 2025 on your LinkedIn. You've been doing that monthly. That's at over 5,500 subscribers at this point. So what is your thought process right now on LinkedIn? What is your go-to-market strategy for you? And then you can extrapolate for others, but like, what's your strategy right now?
So LinkedIn is always the relationship, the connector, the opportunity to get to know people, to support them. The question I always ask myself to ask people is, how can I help you? How can I support you? How can I assist you? And that's the core of everything that I do is how can I serve? And I've got it on my whiteboard right behind me, well, right behind the camera. Impact is greater than income. I'm here to make impact. The income will come. And of course I got to keep the lights on, but I'm on a mission. For me, I'm strong in my faith. I believe God's plan for me on this earth is to have positive impact with as many people as I can across the globe. So that's the platform that I use on the platform of LinkedIn. In terms of how I do that, speaking, emceeing, and now I'm at a crossroads of trying to figure out, do I grow my coaching and my training practice? Do I go similar to you with a podcast, rock the mic with a podcast? It's kind of scary. And I've been open about my journey. There's a lot of FUD, not Elmer FUD, but fear, uncertainty, and doubt that I battle on a daily basis. I've got this voice, I call it Cletus, that tells me all the things that I can't do, all the things I'm not worthy of. And I've got this voice of my father, who I lost 9.5 years ago, that really lifts me up. It encourages me. It tells me that I'm more than a conqueror and that, hey, success is on the other side of fear. Let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable and let's realize that, hey, anything is possible if you take that fear, you take that voice and you say, hey, let's push through it. I mean, the body, the mind is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, I think it is. I'll have to chat GPT it, but the body's designed to protect you. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. Well, I work with a coach who said, Larry, let's take that and let's thank our body. Thank you for protecting me. And I got it. I got it from here. Now, let me know if there's any bears coming and if there's any danger, especially black bears. They like dark meat. But essentially, for some of these things in my mind, I can overcome those, whether it's a podcast, whether it's hosting my own live experiential events. Those are some of the things that I'm going through now. And you caught me at the perfect time because I'm continuing to noodle and oodle, but I set a deadline and you did your research. I did set the end of July. I've extended that to the end of August. So please hold me accountable. I'm putting a stake in the ground on what that looks like in my go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, I wasn't going to call you out. So before the call, before we got on today live to record, I asked Larry, I'm like, you mentioned in one of your things that you might pick like a back end coaching offer for your speaking or some kind of offer. It might not be coaching, could be something else, courses or whatever. And I was like, have you decided? Because if you have, I might bring that up, but I wasn't going to bring it up and put you on the spot. So he's creating his own accountability here. I'll check back with him at the end of August to see if he's put a stake in the ground on that. But we're all there. We're all there trying to figure out like, what's the next thing? I personally love to think of it like every year I have a project. Like, what's my project this year that I hold myself accountable to kind of learning and building and fixing. Like one of my projects a couple of years ago is starting down this speaker journey, which is why I'm like, okay, I'm going to research speaking. I'm going to join the association for speakers. I'm going to like read books on it, take the class. And I've done, that was the project. And now like we're here, but it starts with some kind of intention. So I like that you're setting that for yourself. But when I started for me and I met Larry, I'll tell you this. I'm looking at my LinkedIn messages. I'm going back into the day here. December 13th, 2022, Larry sends me a video message. It's our first kind of message between each other. And it's typical Larry. It's high energy. It's gratitude, which there was no need for that. But I had presented like a random kind of like 5-minute something on this kind of get to know the new speakers in the NSA. So I presented my 5-minute thing. And he sent a kind message afterwards that was like, really just enjoy that you showed up and presented. I didn't get to hear all of it. Can you send me the slides? And just complimentary, starting a relationship with curiosity and interest. He also sent a funny GIF image, which I love the personality. And that started the relationship. And then you like unrequested, you've sent me just connections. Hey, I met this person, thought of you. And like, I think that kind of authentic use of LinkedIn, I mean, you can do it through emails too, but you're doing it on LinkedIn because that's where I spend a lot of my time too. I think that speaks a lot to when we talk about strategy. Sometimes the strategy is just to be an authentic human. And I think you do that in spades. So thank you for doing that. But I'd like to ask you, how often are you sending video messages to people still these days?
Daily. Daily. I just made our colleague, Lynn Unsworth. I had lunch with Lynn yesterday, and my shirt says it, together. We're in this together. And just being a good human, being an authentic human, being yourself, most people appreciate it. So Lynn, we met and she shared with me some things that she's looking to do. I said, hold up, wait a minute. I made a video. I included Lynn in the video and the folks have already connected with her. It was with one of the Sherms that I had the opportunity to speak with the past couple of years, and getting her connected in. People appreciate that. They appreciate the authenticness. And one thing that I've learned a lot of things, but my coach said, Larry, healthy people ask for exactly what they want. And at the time, I wasn't healthy. And I still struggle with being healthy because I'll beat around the bush. Hey, Brandon, if you happen to come across, like it's really soft. And she said, is that what you want? No. Brandon, I would love the opportunity to share the platform and speak on your podcast. How do we make that happen? I'm asking you for exactly what I want, but you can't do that if you're a me monster. And a me monster just thinks about me, 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 me. If you're like Bob Berg says in his book, The Go Giver, if you're a go giver and you give and you serve and you help other people, you now start to build what I call relationship equity because you're giving. And what I found is that the more you give authentically, not give because you want to receive something, but just the more you give in this universe, in your communities, it's amazing how it comes back in spades. I'm not Grant Cardone 10x. What I found is that it comes back to me 20x. How you like them apples?
You got to top the book. It's like, it's not 9 minutes abs, it's 7 minutes abs. Now it's 6 minute abs. Got to
And
go
Brandon,
one
real
better.
quick, I want to say thank you for holding me accountable because that's what true friends do. It's like, hey, Larry, you said you were going to do it by the end of July. Where you at? And now I appreciate that you're going to assist me on this journey that, hey, by the end of August, I am going to have a decision made. And that's what we need more of. Life is tough. It's a four-letter word for a reason. It'll make you say some other four-letter words, but doing it with a community, doing it with people that are supporting you in love and lifting you up and sometimes giving you a swift kick in the behind. And the time that we met, I still remember it, Brandon. Your presentation was amazing. It really it astounded me. That's why I sent you the message because I recognized you had prepared, you had put thought into it, your delivery was spot on, your slides were impressive, and game recognized game, I guess they say. And I appreciate you for giving your all in that 5 minute presentation because that was 3 years ago, and it still has a resonating impact on me. And your name just came up yesterday with Lynn because you were a part of the Speaker Academy with Lynn Unsworth.
Yep. Yeah, it's a small community. I appreciate the kind words, Larry. But let's flip this back to you. Stop shining the light on other people for once. No, just kidding. I'm going to ask this because it was timely to what you were talking about. And in that accountability realm, you said, and you've said in the past, idea and dreams are good, but action is great and creates positive impact. So I'm going to ask you a question you ask other people. What's one bold move you can make and act on this year?
Ooh. Mm. The bold move is international. I think Pitbull calls himself Mr. Worldwide. He doesn't know that Larry Long Jr. is coming for that throne. Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 909. I set a goal at the beginning of the year with intentionality to have four engagements outside of the US. I was in Canada in February. Brr, it was cold. I was in Singapore that was April. That was amazing. I'm going to Telford, England in October. That gets me to three. I'm not a math major, but I'm still chasing that one. So my bold action now is I'm proactively reaching out. Malaga, Spain. There's a PSA, Professional Speaker Association of Spain. I've reached out about speaking at their annual convention in November. I'm working with a connection, a relationship that I have from Nepal who runs events in India. So I'm reaching out to folks to really make that happen without action. It's just that's kind of like the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And what I found is that if you build it, they might come, but they probably won't. You better go get it. So I'm reaching out to see how I can give and how I can serve across the globe. I'm contemplating making a trip to New Zealand. That's a long flight. That's a long way from home. But I'm really committed to that goal of four. So I'm gonna find it by hook or by crook. I prefer hook, but by any means necessary.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying it. Congrats on speaking internationally and already moving towards that goal. I'm curious, when you started on that path, what was your approach to start to take steps to make that happen? You've made it happen, but how did that happen? What were the, if they haven't listened, I hope they're listening, they rewind. You gave us two already. You said one, you worked with the Speakers Association in the other countries, and you have a connection there. So you used a previous kind of, I'm part of an association. Let me reach out to other associations. You also said you had a contact in Nepal. So you're using your relationships and your network and outreach and saying to people, this is what I'm looking for. So if they haven't rewound and heard that, I hope they hear that. How did you find those first three? And like, what was your thoughts when you were getting started on how I'm going to make this happen?
Yeah. So I work with a coach, which I highly advise. Find a coach, hire a coach, invest in coaching, invest in yourself, and make sure you have mentors, people that you can assist and that they can assist you as well. This came back to 2020 when I started working with Coach Kristen Frade, and we set out my intention. And I'm asking myself the same questions now that we asked then. What do you want specifically? Larry, what do you want your business and your life to look like? And I love to travel. My wife's from Argentina. I want international opportunities to be able to take my family. My wife went with me to Singapore and might be going to Australia next year. I'm hoping to take the kids. That's what we're working towards. So it's that intention and it's that vision. And then it's putting the work. When you start with the end in mind, I know what I want. Now I got to figure out how to get there. So coaching, intention, vision, and then action. I actually said that dreams and goals and ideas are good and action is gooder, which our good friend Ryan Vett wrote a book called Speak Gooder, but action is great. That's how you accomplish things. So I actually invested to go to the Global Speaker Summit in Bali, Indonesia. And that was an investment in myself, time, money, resource, and I was very intentional. There were 300 professional speakers, 60 from the US. I said, I love you, my US comrades, but I can't talk to you here. I'm here to meet folks from Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, India. My vision was very explicit and I ran the game plan and that's what led. Now you asked what led to the previous international opportunities, Dubai, Bogota, Colombia. I spoke at the World Sales Forum, relationships, and I'll be honest, hard work, which leads to luck. I pretty much fell into those where folks said, hey, we know you want to speak international. There's an opportunity here. I think you would be a great fit. I said, let's do it. So it's one of those things that it's a bit cliche, but what I found, the harder that I work, the luckier I get. And I played baseball, Brandon, and I know I played baseball at University of Maryland, go Terps. It was the same thing. When I used to be diligent and take my 100 swings every weekday on my solo hitter, it seemed in the game that I got lucky, but it was that hard work. You're now believing it in your heart, believing it in your mind. You're now skilled to be ready for those opportunities. And you made a great comment earlier about your preparation for your engagements that you had and you were ready. You delivered an amazing product and an amazing outcome. And now that builds that momentum. So that, to be honest, I kind of fell into it, but not really. It was hard work, it was intention, it was relationships, and it was letting people know exactly what I want.
Yeah, I could see it. It's fun for me to draw the lines of this happened, and then I met this person, and then this happened. So, like, I had a speaking engagement in May, and it all started because, well, if you keep going backwards, it's almost endless. But it's like it started because of the Speakers Association. I met the people, and because I'm part of that, they said, hey, in North Carolina, the Association Executives of North Carolina Club is having an event and you can pay to speak on their stage and get a great recording and you can apply that. So I applied and I spoke on their stage and I paid to do that because I was going to get great footage of this new talk I had developed for my book. And I met a couple people there. And then that led to like, hey, I saw you speak, and I followed up saying, hey, did you have any feedback? Oh, by the way, thanks for reaching back out. I have this other thing. I want to introduce you to someone, which led to, and suddenly I'm pitching for the next event. And it always goes backwards, and it's hard to track back to like, yeah, hard work, right? But like you made a decision at some point to show up, to invest in something, to do free gigs, paid gigs, whatever it might be. And that work does pay off over time. It does create the luck. So I appreciate you saying that and sharing that with people. I'm curious what in terms of your speaking business, if you think like the balance between paid and free, I think is such a conversation and question in the speaking business. I think it's a gut decision for a lot of people. I've turned down things this year where I'm like, yeah, but it's not like I'm paying, like I'm going too far. And there's like, what is your kind of balance for yourself? How do you think about your approach to paid and free and that balance?
I'm still trying to figure it out. There's two major questions in our industry. Number one is, how do I acquire? Where do I find more paid speaking opportunities? Number two is, what is my fee? And should I do free? I've heard that you can dive exposure, and I've also experienced that exposure oftentimes, if you're good, will lead to other opportunities that end up paid. So there is a balance. And I got to rewind back because I was there at your AENC showcase. And once again, you put in the work, you put in the effort, you delivered on stage, and it's no mystery why other opportunities would pop up. I think they call it spin to win. There's a book called The Referable Speaker that says, as a speaker, your product is you, your story, your presentation, and your program. And I've been working on honing mine. Now, to get back to your original question about free 99, my coach said, Larry, you're not a nonprofit. You're not a charity, act accordingly. And I told her, thank you for that tough love, Coach Kristen. And I've got a big heart. Like I said, impact over income. So it's a balance for me. It's a personal decision. I talked to Hall of Famer Warren Greshus, who said, Larry, I never give advice on what speakers should charge because it's such a personal choice. He said, but I will tell you this. The majority of speakers do not charge enough. They devalue their services and the impact that they have. I'll go back. When I first started, I was charging $300 an hour. Thankfully, Nancy Appleman Vassell connected me to Dr. James Smith Jr. out of Philly. And he said, Larry, hold up, wait a minute. I got to teach you some things, youngster. He said, we're not hourly workers. They're not paying us for an hour on that stage. They're paying us for the lived experience. And he did an exercise. Larry, how many years of school have you been to? 12. College? 16. How many years have you been a leader? 20. We're now at 36. How many years have you been a parent? We're now at 56 years combined. Athletic. He said, what's the hourly fee for someone that has 91 years of experience? Is it $300 an hour? I said, I said, I better readjust, recalculating. So it's really the value that we have is the impact that we're having on that audience. And a lot of times it is priceless, but if you have to put a price tag on it, I encourage folks that are listening, take your current fee and triple it. Start there. Start there, especially if you put in the work and do it boldly. And I'm sharing this message for myself as much as everyone else because it's scary. Let's keep it real. When you're putting yourself out there, the mind games that I have is, Larry, you're not, Cleta says, you're not worth that. No one's going to pay you $10,000. Well, what I found is that when you put it out there's people that say, okay. And I hate to pull it out, but boop, that was easy. I got my easy button. It comes out to, wow, that was super easy. I made it this big thing in my mind and it wasn't that difficult. So that's my encouragement to folks is try it. Give it a try.
I love that. I think for me, I'm trying to create some rules for myself and then I don't have to follow them. I can decide to break the rules or not. But I've said, okay, if it's within a certain radius, then it's more of a yes than no. If I have to travel, for example, across the country, and it's not an audience that would ever hire me or someone that would ever, work with me as a coach, then it's kind of a double negative. Like I'm paying to be there basically, and there's not going to be an action coming out of it that helps grow the business. This is the first year that I've said yes to a free engagement and no to a paid engagement in the same month. And I'm like, this is weird. Like there's these weird like things we have to juggle and say, but there was reasons. It was like I said no to the free I'm sorry, I said yes to the free engagement because it was a brand new audience. It was the Independent Book Publishers Association. I was a recently, self-published author. So I'm like, these are people I want to meet, people I want to network with, people who've done what I've done. So I want to know them and see what tricks they have. But if I can speak while I'm there, that's even better. That makes the conference ticket free. Maybe it helps me say, okay, what's personal branding look like for authors? That's something I haven't thought about yet. So there's a lot of reasons to say yes to a free thing. The next week I was flying home and getting paid for something. It was this kind of this funny dichotomy. And then I said no to a paid thing, which I was like, why did I say no? Well, I said no because I had determined what my value was for that engagement. And I was convinced that this is the value that I'd say, this is what I'm worth. For what you're asking, this is what I'm worth. And the rest wasn't worth like the 3 days of travel and whatever else. And I would have been profitable had I said yes, but it was not aligned with what I'd set for myself as boundaries. I could have broke it, but these are the thoughts we have to come into and be flexible within this business. But I think there's something about creating standards for yourself that is hard to do when you're getting started. And like guilty. It's very hard to do.
I applaud you for setting those guardrails and those standards and sticking to it. I struggle with those boundaries, and oftentimes, unfortunately, I operate as a nonprofit and a charity, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. I've made progress over the years. There's some folks that believe your price is your price. You're a $5,000 speaker, that's your price because people talk and they call it fee integrity. I've heard of a Hall of Famer that says, I believe in food integrity. And sometimes you got to flex. And there's actually, there's a document that I have called non-cash considerations. So if you can't afford me to pay me fully in cash, there's other things of value. I don't know if I told you this, Brandon, but Tiger Woods is my cousin. I love the golf. Now he's my long lost cousin. They call me Larry Hit It in the Woods. That's a bad dad joke, but I'm both. But essentially, if you can get me golf at a nice golf course in town, we can come down on that fee. If you'll fly my wife and my kids and allow us to stay a few extra days, there's a value to that. And a lot of these organizations, they have hotel blocks. They're able to flex. I'm working with a group in Wilmington right now where we're negotiating around golf and extra hotel nights at a different date for the weekend for my family to work on our tan at the beach. So you can get creative, and that's the power of community. I never would have known non-cash considerations if it wasn't for Tara Brown, who connected me to Pat Dwyer, who said, hey, I'll send you my sheet and you can customize it for yourself. So there's definitely power in those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with me. Like I wrote a book because someone in our association said, if you want to get better, write a book. It helps you kind of expand the business. And he was right. Like one of the first things I got paid for was in book purchases only. And then when I added to it, I'm like, well, I'm getting a free trip to the city I wanted to go back to. I'm making money on the books because they're buying it at full price, not at a discounted rate. Also, I'm like, okay, well, there's a per diem for me to be out there. And obviously I can live under that means, but I set the per diem. So I'm making money on the per diem. There's travel expenses where like you're paying for the right travel, but I might take the train, instead of the cab. So there are ways to make that like actually run this like a business. I don't mind, like not living first class to make this business work. But to your point, I think there's some choices you have to make about like what's valuable to you. And I learned that from this community. Now, speaking about books, you have Jolt. Officially, I wrote it down here. Jolt and I bought this book. I just forgot the subtitle. Jolt, Get Zapped into Intentionality. Rediscover and Believe in Your Inner Greatness. You wrote this in July 2022. And it reads to me like not just lessons on how to kind of invigorate and energize yourself and your sales processes, but a little bit like I want to call it a love letter to your father, a little bit of legacy for your family. And I just want to acknowledge that. I think you did a good job in sharing those stories, bringing them to life in an honorable way. So congratulations on that book. I'm curious, what was that process like? Let's start there.
It was tough. If you asked any of my elementary, middle, and high school English teachers, if you told them Larry Long Jr. wrote a book, They would say, hold up, where's Ashton Kutcher? Am I getting punked? There's no way that punk wrote a book. I was not the strongest writer. And I'm still not. I know my strengths. Miss Pac-Man, I'm a beast. Writing, not so much, even though I write every day on LinkedIn. But the power of a team. I had a team that helped me to write the book, including my coach, who helped support me with a lot of those mind games. I self-published, and there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Am I good enough? Does anyone really want to read what I have to write and what I have to share? And what I realized is the book is really for me and my family. And if it will support anyone else, that's a bonus. And I was really fortunate. My book is a compilation of my midweek, midday motivational minutes. I'm coming up on episode number 247, I think. It was a compilation of my 7 most meaningful topics at the time. Lessons from my dad. I'd lost my dad back in 2015. Strikeouts, they're a part of life. I've struck out plenty of times on the baseball field, a few times on the softball field, playing slow pitch softball. I hate to admit it, but had a few strikeouts and many times in life. So just being able to really, and the book consultant I work with shared with me, Larry, you need to write a book. I said, I share my story when I talk. She said, there's so many people out there that will never hear you talk that need to be able to read your story, and they need to be able to hear it. 2022, that was a long time ago. I still haven't recorded an audiobook yet. It's still on my list. I've yet to put a stake in the ground on the date, but I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect. My book is designed, I almost called it Unstuck, because at the time I was stuck, and it was my game plan, my blueprint to help myself get jolted and get unstuck. So that I look back at it with a sense of pride because I never would have thunk it. When was the last time you met an author that used the word thunk? Never would have thunk it, that little nappy-headed Larry Long Jr. back before my barber got mad. I'm bald now, but I never imagined that I'd be an author. It just never crossed my mind. I never imagined I'd get paid to serve and paid to speak across the globe. I'm living the dream, brand, and I pinch myself every day. Not too hard because I don't want to wake myself up from this dream, but I'm living the dream, and I've been inspired by so many people in our community, including you. I don't know if you know this, but I look up to you for all the greatness that you have and all the greatness that you share with other people. And I've been grateful that you've been open to meeting with me, sharing with me, supporting me along this journey because the road is tough. It can be lonely. It can be an island if you let it. But if you lean on other people and you do it together, I mean, I really do believe teamwork makes the dream work, and team is together. Everyone achieves more. I've experienced that, and man, I'm just grateful to be on your podcast with you, chopping it up with you, and being able to share with your listeners and your viewers. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think the listeners are grateful to have you from what we've gotten so far. Let me ask you this to wrap up on the book question. Is there something that you would say, oh, like the book changed this about my speaking or the speaking business?
Yeah, confidence that I do belong and that I do have a story to tell. Credibility. When you have a book, it's instant credibility, especially if it's a meaningful book, which mine is straight from the heart, as well as from a business perspective. It's a business card that's substantial. You send a book to someone and it's probably going to be on their desk and it's made an impact. With my business offering, we talked about fees. Lori Guest calls it, I think it's called right size pricing. She says they have 3 different levels of pricing. Pretty much the floor of what you would be satisfied with, but it's the baseline. Having a middle, which is what you want, which has some additional items, and then the whole kit and caboodle. That's not what she calls it, but you give them everything for a larger fee. And oftentimes I've tried it, just like she says, a lot of times people will pick the middle and they'll say, hey, can I pick this from the upper tier and maybe eliminate this? And now opens the conversation to negotiating, and the book is a piece of that. Would you want everyone in your audience to have the book on Jolt, being that I'm providing my Jolt program? How can we make that happen within this? So it's been amazing for me. Am I ready for book number two? Not yet. It's kind of like having a kid. I love my kids, but I'm not sure I'm ready to do it again yet.
You stole my next question, but I will make it a harder question. When do you think you will be ready to consider another book?
Yeah. Whew. Right now on the drawing board is a children's book with my kids and my wife. It's a dream, it's part of the vision. We haven't set a timeline, so right now it's still a dream. It's not a goal. I think they call them SMART goals. And I'm gonna give you a hot take, Brandon. I believe that SMART goals are actually dumb. I don't ever call anyone dumb, but SMART goals are dumb, and here goes why. Specific, measurable, and time bound, I love. Attainable and realistic, survey says, nah. If I had set attainable and realistic goals, I would never be an author. If I had set attainable and realistic goals, I would never be a professional speaker. I encourage people to dream big. No, dream bigger. Set unattainable, unrealistic goals. If you shoot for the moon and you miss, you're still amongst the stars.
Yeah, it's like the BHAG, or the big, hairy, audacious goal. I feel like that SMART template, people use it, but it's really like a corporate philosophy for getting a task done. It's not like what they're asking the visionary leaders. They're like that's not the same. For sure. I agree with you on that. Let me ask you this, as we're kind of towards the back end of the interview here. If you could leave the audience with something that's interesting to you, something that a message you want to get out to the people listening today, let's give you the microphone as usual, and let you kick us out.
I appreciate it. So we started with energy. I encourage folks to control, command, and really watch your energy and make sure it's positive. Energy is going to drive your success, or it's going to work against you. I'm here to just be a voice to let you know. And there's someone out there that needs to hear this right now. And it might be me. You can do it. Yes, you can do it. Put your mind to it, map out a game plan quickly, and then just take action. Take the first step. If it's a podcast, record something. Take the first step. Will it be perfect? No, it never will be. Will people laugh at you? Maybe. I hope so. What I found is the people that matter, they don't mind. And the people who mind, they don't matter. So go for it. Right now, I command you. And I commend you. And I lift you up. Go for it. You can do it.
Drop the mic. Thank you so much, Larry Long Jr. Appreciate you, man. And
I appreciate you more.
Thanks for everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time.